You're standing in the grocery store checkout line with $180 worth of food in your cart, doing that thing you've done for the past 3 years, the mental math. $180 for groceries means $220 left for the week, which means gas money is tight, which means you're walking to work Thursday and Friday, which means you need to meal prep because you can't afford to buy lunch. The cashier scans your items and says your total, and you tap your card, and something absolutely bizarre happens. You don't check your bank balance, so you don't hold your breath waiting for approval. You just leave, because 3 weeks ago you made $5,100 in a single month for the first time in your life, and your entire relationship with money has gone completely sideways. You're not rich. Your apartment still has that weird smell. You're still one car repair away from stress, but something fundamental has shifted, and you can't figure out if you've finally made it or if you just leveled up to a slightly nicer version of broke. My name is Nick, and if you want to understand why everything changes after your first $5,000 month, we need to talk about what actually happened in that grocery store. Because it wasn't about the groceries. Meet Marcus. He's 29, freelance graphic designer, been grinding for 3 years, making between $2,800 and $3,400 a month. He can cover rent and bills and food, but there's nothing left over. No emergency fund, no savings, just perpetual low-grade financial anxiety that follows him everywhere. Then in September, he lands 3 decent clients in the same week. He finishes a project that pays $2,200. Another pays $1,800, some smaller stuff. End of the month. His total income is $5,100. After 3 years, he finally broke $5,000. And the money isn't even the biggest change. The biggest change is what happens in his brain. 2 weeks later, Marcus is in a meeting with a potential client discussing a 6-month contract, maybe $8,000 total. The client asks, "Can you start next week?" And Marcus's brain does this thing it's done 1,000 times. It splits in half. Part of him is listening to the client. The other part is running emergency calculations. Rent is due in 5 days. Credit card minimum is $180. Did car insurance auto draft? If this client pays net 30, that's a month before he sees money. Can he survive that gap? He's running 3 parallel spreadsheets in his head while trying to look professional. He ends up agreeing to $7,200 for 6 months because his brain was too busy calculating survival to actually listen to what the client was asking for. He underpriced himself by about $3,000 because his mental bandwidth was consumed by financial panic. 4 months later, different client, similar project. They asked the same question, can you start next week? This time his brain just works. He actually hears what they're asking for. He recognizes it's complex, needs custom illustrations, multiple revisions, tight deadlines, and he says, $10,000 and I can start in 2 weeks because I need to wrap another project first. No panic, no mental spreadsheet acrobatics, no desperate agreement to whatever they'll pay. This is what Harvard researchers call the bandwidth tax. They did a study where low-income participants solving problems after hearing about a $3,000 car repair performed 13 IQ points worse on cognitive tests. That's the same hit you take from losing a full night's sleep. Financial scarcity doesn't just make you stressed, it literally makes you dumber while you're experiencing it. Part of your brain is constantly running survival calculations in the background, and you don't have that processing power available for anything else. When Marcus hit $5,000 a month consistently, he didn't suddenly become smarter. He got his brain back. Those 13 IQ points being consumed by, "Can I afford this?" got freed up. And suddenly he's negotiating better contracts, making better decisions, seeing opportunities he was too cognitively exhausted to notice before. But let's go back to that grocery store moment because something else happened. For 3 years, every time Marcus bought groceries, he played the mental math game. Every bill, he checked his balance first. Every unexpected expense made his stomach drop. Then he has one $5,000 month, and 2 weeks later, he's buying groceries without the game. His brain started updating its story about who he is. Psychologists call this a mastery experience, the single most powerful way to build self-belief. Before that $5,000 month, Marcus hoped he could earn that much. After, he knew he could. That shift from hoping to knowing is massive. It's the difference between I'm trying to make this work and I run a business. One is the aspiration, the other is identity. But Marcus hits $5,000 once, and his brain immediately tries to convince him it was a fluke. He got lucky. 3 good clients in 1 month won't happen again. This is imposter syndrome showing up hardest right after you succeed. Month 2, he makes $4,200. See? Told you. Month 3, $5,400. Maybe not a fluke. Month 4, $4,800. Month 5, $5,900. It's not until month 8, 6 months over $5,000, that his brain finally updates the story. He's not someone who got lucky, he's someone who earns at this level. The imposter voice doesn't disappear. It just gets overruled by accumulated evidence. Now, what does $5,000 a month actually mean? It's $60,000 a year. Median income for full-time workers in America is around $63,000. When you hit $60,000, you've crossed from the bottom half of earners into the top half. You're no longer below average, you're average. And psychologically, that's enormous. For probably the first time, you're not the broke person in the room, you're just normal. Of course, there's a catch. That $5,000 is before taxes. Self-employment tax is 15.3%, about $765 a month. Federal income tax, another $600. State tax, maybe $200. Health insurance, $450. So $5,000 becomes about $3,000 take home. Still way better than before, but not quite the number you imagine. Here's what that extra $800 in take home buys. 3 months after Marcus hits his first $5,000 month, his check engine light comes on. Before, this would have triggered full anxiety. How much? Can I put it off? Credit card? Call mom and feel like a failure? Now he's just annoyed. He takes the car in. $1,100. He pays it. And he still has $2,800 left for the month. He doesn't cry in the parking lot. He just pays and moves on. This is what $5,000 a month buys. Not luxury, not wealth, just the ability for unexpected expenses to be annoying instead of catastrophic. 59% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 unexpected expense from savings. When you cross that threshold, you're exiting a reality most of the country lives in. You're no longer in the one emergency away from disaster club. The psychological relief is hard to describe if you've never experienced it. It's like someone turned off a noise you didn't realize was always playing. 6 weeks after his first $5,000 month, Marcus is back at that grocery store. He's filling his cart and realizes he hasn't looked at a single price. Not because he's rich, but because his brain stopped treating every purchase like a financial risk assessment. He's buying the good coffee, live fresh vegetables instead of calculating if canned is cost effective. At checkout, $180, and he doesn't do the mental math about what that leaves him. He just pays and leaves. The mental exhaustion of constantly thinking about money starts to fade. It feels like he's been carrying rocks for 3 years and someone finally let him put them down. 3 weeks after that first $5,000 month, Marcus is at brunch with his girlfriend Sarah. She orders the $18 Eggs Benedict without looking at the price. 6 months ago, this would have been a whole thing. Mental calculation about rent, maybe suggesting they split an appetizer instead. Now he just orders the $16 pancakes, doesn't flinch, and while they're eating, Sarah mentions her car is making a noise and she's stressed about the cost. Marcus hears himself say, "Aha, how much do you think it'll be?" Not, "Oh God, how are we going to afford this?" Just, "How much?" Like a person with options. Sarah looks at him funny. "Are you okay? You seem different." And he realizes she's right. He is different. The background anxiety that colored every interaction, every conversation about money, it's fading. Research from Carleton University found that financial stress makes you interpret everything more negatively. When you're stressed about finances, you perceive your partner's behavior as more negative during arguments, even when the argument has nothing to do with money. When Marcus stops being in survival mode, his entire relationship improves. Not because Sarah changed, because the stress poisoning every interaction finally lifted, but there's a flip side. Marcus has friends from college, like they used to bond over being broke together. Now, when they hang out, he can't fully participate in those conversations anymore. When they complain about not affording something, his first thought is, I could afford that now, and he feels guilty. Someone makes a joke about Mr. Moneybags when he offers to cover a $30 Uber. Slowly, he starts declining hangouts more often. Not because he doesn't like them, because it's exhausting to constantly downplay his situation. Harvard analyzed 21 billion Facebook friendships and found that connections across different economic levels are the single strongest predictor of upward mobility. As your income increases, you naturally exist in different spaces, meet different people, have different daily concerns. You're not abandoning old friends. You're just gravitating toward people whose financial reality matches yours. That difference creates distance whether you want it to or not. Here's where the story takes a turn Marcus wasn't expecting. He's consistently making $5,000 to $6,000 a month for 5 months. He's got $3,200 in savings for the first time ever. He's not panicking about money. And his brain tells him a very reasonable story. You've made it. You can relax. You deserve to enjoy this. That story leads to a series of very reasonable decisions that are about to trap him. Month 6. His lease is up and he moves to a nicer apartment. $200 more per month, but he can afford it. In-unit laundry, no weird smell. Totally reasonable. Month 7. His 2009 Honda Civic with the dent is embarrassing at client meetings. He buys a 2021 used car. Payment is $400 a month. Azam completely justified. He needs reliable transportation. Month 9. He's making $5,400 consistently. He upgrades his phone plan, gets the gym membership he's been putting off, starts buying good coffee from the local place, a couple subscriptions, little stuff, maybe $200 a month total. He's earned it. Month 12. Marcus looks at his bank account. He's been making over $5,000 a month for almost a year. His savings account has $1,600, about the same as 6 months ago. Monthly expenses increased by $600. Then his nice, reliable car needs new tires and alignment. $800. He doesn't have it. Credit card. Welcome to the $5,000 a month trap. Despite making $2,000 more per month than a year ago, Marcus is exactly as broke. He's just upgraded to a nicer apartment to be broke in. This is lifestyle inflation, and it's brutal. Your brain convinces you that now you make $5,000 a month. You deserve to live like someone making $5,000 a month. You're saying it's only $200 more, as if that's not 5% of your income. You're in a car dealership calling a $400 payment an investment in reliability while ignoring that your current car works fine, it's just ugly. You order delivery 3 times a week because time is money. Except you're spending $600 a month on DoorDash fees within 6 months, like you're making $2,000 more and somehow exactly as broke as before. You moved from economy to premium economy on the same flight, more legroom, same destination. And here's the twisted part. 40% of households earning over $500,000 a year feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck. This doesn't fix itself at higher incomes. Lifestyle inflation follows you at every level unless you actively fight it. Marcus catches himself. Month 13, he looks at his account and has a moment of clarity. I'm making more than ever and still anxious about money. What is happening? So he does something ridiculous. He goes back to doing the mental math at the grocery store, not because he has to see the difference. He buys $180 in groceries and realizes 6 months ago this would have wiped him out for the week. Now it's about a day and a half of income. Instead of celebrating by spending more, he puts $500 in savings. He cancels 4 streaming services he doesn't use, $60 a month saved. Meal preps on Sundays instead of delivery, $400 saved. Within 2 months, his savings has $4,200. And here's what that buys. Not a nicer lifestyle. The ability to say no. He's a client emails about a rush project. Weekends included, normal rate. Pre-savings. Marcus would have said yes because he needed the money. Current Marcus says, my rush rate is double and I'm available Monday. The client agrees because people with options don't sound desperate and clients smell desperation from miles away. This brings us to the other trap that keeps people stuck at $5,000 forever. Marcus is making decent money, but he's still trading hours for dollars. Every project requires him personally. Every client meeting requires his time. There's a hard ceiling on how much he can earn because there's a ceiling on his hours. To make $7,000 a month, At his current rates, he'd need 60-hour weeks. For $10,000, 85 hours, which is impossible without burning out. This is where most freelancers plateau. 55% earn under $50,000 a year. So Marcus raises his rates, not by a little, by a lot, from $75 an hour to $150. He loses one client who says it's too expensive. The other four don't blink. One says, honestly, I'm surprised you weren't charging more already. He was leaving money on the table, pricing from fear instead of value. Then he creates a package deal. Instead of hourly, he offers a full brand identity package for $8,000. Logo, color palette, brand guidelines, social templates, about 40 hours of work, effectively $200 an hour. He sells it to 2 clients in the first month. That's $16,000, more than 3 months of his old income earned in 1 month, with capacity for other projects. Now he's making $8,000 to $11,000 monthly. His expenses haven't increased, still same apartment, same car, still making coffee at home. But now he's saving $3,000 a month. You're out within 4 months, $12,000 in savings. Within a year, $35,000, and that's when everything changes again. He gets an email from a potential client offering $5,000 for a project Marcus knows will be a nightmare. Endless revisions, unclear direction, unrealistic expectations. Old Marcus would have taken it because he needed the money. Current Marcus replies, "Thanks for thinking of me, but I don't think I'm the right fit for this project." Deletes the email. No guilt. Because he's not operating from scarcity anymore. He can't afford to say yes to projects that drain his time for mediocre pay. This is the difference between $5,000 a month as a destination versus a foundation. If you treat it like you've arrived, you plateau. Lifestyle inflation eats the gains. You stay trapped, trading time for money, comfortable but stuck. But if you treat it as proof of capability and build from there, this is where everything accelerates. You have breathing room for strategic decisions instead of desperate ones. Savings buffer for smart risks. Mental bandwidth to see opportunities instead of just surviving. Month 24 of Marcus's journey. Same grocery store, same checkout line where this started 2 years ago. Buying $180 in groceries. He's not doing the mental math. Not because he's rich, because he's done this enough that his brain believes it's okay. He's built $47,000 in savings, averaging $9,200 monthly. Turned down 3 projects last month because they weren't good fits. His money stress is the lowest it's been in his adult life. But here's what nobody tells you. It doesn't feel like winning, it feels normal. When you're broke, you think $5,000 a month will solve everything. Then you make it and realize it just makes different problems easier. You still have stress just about different things. The finish line you thought existed doesn't actually exist. There's just different levels of the same game. So if you're sitting there wondering if you'll ever make it to $5,000 a month, here's what I want you to understand. That number isn't magic. It won't fix everything. It won't make you happy if you're miserable, but it is the threshold where survival mode ends and strategic mode becomes possible, where your brain gets bandwidth back, where emergencies stop being catastrophic, where you can finally start building instead of just surviving. And if you've already hit $5,000 a month and still feel broke, here's your answer. You're doing what Marcus did in months 6 through 12, spending everything you make just at a higher level, trapped in lifestyle inflation, still trading time for money with no leverage, treating $5,000 as a destination instead of a starting line. 6 months from now, you're gonna be back in that grocery store, same line. Buying $180 in food, and one of two things will happen. Either you'll do it without thinking because you built enough stability that your brain relaxed, or your card will decline because you moved to the nicer apartment and bought the nicer car, and now you're back where you started, just with higher bills. The $5,000 a month doesn't determine which version you get. What you do after does. So next time you're standing in that checkout line and you don't have to do the mental math, don't celebrate by spending more. Celebrate by doing the math anyway. Figure out how much you didn't spend. Put that in savings. So, because the goal isn't to stop worrying about money by spending everything at a higher level. The goal is to stop worrying by having enough that emergencies stop being emergencies. That's the difference between people who use $5,000 a month as a launch pad to $10,000 and beyond, and people who get stuck forever. It's not intelligence, it's not luck, it's not secret strategies. It's whether you understand that crossing the threshold doesn't mean the race is over. It means you finally have the stamina to keep running. And this time, You're not running from something. You're running toward something. That's what changes after your first $5,000 month. Not the money, the direction.